Tonight, guilty but not of murder. The verdict in the shooting death of a 6-year-old boy in Marksville. Plus, deadly fire, the tragic update tonight from St. Landry Parish. And repeal and replace scrapped. Why? And what's next right now on KATC?
You're watching KATC TV3, Acadiana's news channel at 10.
A guilty verdict in a case that made national headlines, the shooting death of 6-year-old Jeremy Martis in Marksville. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Hummel. A conviction tonight for one of the 2 former marshals charged in his death. After about 3 hours of deliberations, a jury found Derek Stafford guilty of manslaughter and attempted manslaughter. He was on trial for second-degree murder and attempted second-degree murder, but the jury opted for the lesser charges for the 2015 shooting that killed Jeremy and seriously injured his father, Chris Few. At the time, after viewing the body camera video, then State Police Colonel Mike Edmondson called it the most disturbing thing he's ever seen, saying Few's hands were raised when the marshals started shooting. 3's on the street tonight. Jameson Crabtree joins us live from Avoyelles Parish with reaction from outside the courthouse. Jameson.
When the verdict was read, the Stafford family was visibly upset. A few of the family members approached Derek Stafford as he turned to hug his wife. He was later driven away in an Avoyelles Parish Sheriff's SUV. The Chris Few's family did not talk to the media. The prosecution was pleased with the outcome, but the Stafford family remained visibly upset outside the courtroom.
Well, the whole case is a tragedy, but this is a very serious felony. It carries a very serious mandatory minimum sentence, and we would say absolutely that it is a victory for our case and a victory for the victims in the case.
This wasn't no intentional kill. And like I say over and over, the 2 grandmothers have my sympathy. They really do. But I want somebody to feel my pain that I feel right now, going home to our kids and saying, hey, Dad is not coming home tonight. That's the most hurtful thing ever to me.
3's on the street, live in Marksville. Jameson Crabtree, KATC, TV3.
Derek Stafford will be sentenced coming up next week. Meantime, former fellow Marshal Norris Greenhouse Jr. awaits his trial on counts of second-degree murder and attempted second-degree murder. His court date is set for June.
Here's Rob's 24-hour forecast.
Storms are firing up across eastern Texas, banking into the extreme northwestern part of the state where we have tornado watches in effect, even severe thunderstorm warnings in eastern Texas over toward Toledo Bend. Later on tonight, we do expect these storms to be moving into Louisiana with the threat of some severe weather, primarily after 2 a.m. and then as we get closer to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, perhaps the storms may weaken, but more storms will be on the way as we go into tomorrow morning. So your 24-hour forecast, a busy one indeed. Rain chances 70 to 80% overnight tonight through midday tomorrow. Then storms will be diminishing tomorrow afternoon with perhaps a return of partly sunny skies by day's end. Temperatures topping out in the lower 80s. The risk of severe weather tonight, mainly from 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow. We'll delineate all the severe weather threats and give you a timeline on when to expect the storms coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Rob, thanks. Parish by parish headlines start on St. Landry Parish with new information about this morning's fire in Lawtell. The 59-year-old grandmother severely injured, and that fire has now died. Investigators believe a child playing with a lighter accidentally set a mattress on fire. One of the 5 other people in the home tried to take the mattress outside, but that set off other fires within the home. Another house fire, this one in Lafayette. The homeowner told firefighters he woke up to the heat of the flames coming from behind his bed. After he realized he couldn't put out the fire himself, he grabbed his dog and ran out.
With the fire department, they were here in no time, and they got it under control. He lost everything. He's on a fixed income. He lost his dentures, his hearing aid. He has nothing left, nothing else, no clothes, no nothing.
An account has been set up for the homeowner. If you'd like to help out, you can find a link to that over on our website, KATC.com. New information on yesterday afternoon's shooting in Crowley. Both suspects wanted in connection with the shooting outside a grocery store are tonight in custody. Malcolm Thomas is in jail for a gun possession charge, and Sven Rochon faces 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. The incident is the 3rd shooting investigated by Crowley police in less than 24 hours. Yesterday morning, 2 women were killed allegedly by the same man who was killed in a shootout with police. A police dog was also killed in that shootout. In Jeff Davis Parish, a Jennings man is accused of sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl. According to deputies, the victim was spending the night at a friend's house when Keith Landry came into the room and assaulted her. Landry is charged with third-degree rape tonight. In Calcasieu Parish, a guilty verdict tonight for a Lake Charles man accused in a 2014 murder case. A jury convicted Ali Barconi of killing the victim and shooting another person in the face. Sentencing in this case is set for April. A look ahead to tomorrow's elections. Voters will be looking to fill a seat on the Third Circuit Court of Appeal. On the ballot, Candace Perrette, Vanessa Wagasback-Ansman, and Susan Theall. If none of them gets more than 50% of the vote, the top 2 vote getters will move on to the runoff. In Acadia Parish, voters there will be choosing between 2 candidates for the State House of Representatives. John Stefanski and Jay Sweer are looking to fill the seat that was vacated by Jack Montesay, who Governor Edwards appointed to take over the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. You can head over to katc.com/elections to see a sample ballot for everything in your parish. Breaux Bridge city officials are proposing another special taxing district along the I-10 corridor. The 1-cent sales tax will be spent half on the tax district's infrastructure and construction projects and the other half on the city's projects.
We can decide if we want to hand over a community that's in better shape than the way we took it. And I think for the last maybe 10, 20, 30 years, we've been treading water and not really making any headway in a lot of areas and making any progress that I felt was at least at this time necessary. So.
There is new assistance being offered to some of you affected by the historic flood. The Acadiana Long-Term Recovery Committee held a news conference today offering non-income-based assistance. If you need help recovering, you're encouraged to call the number that you see there on the bottom of your screen. We also have that number over on katc.com.
What I love about Lafayette is that already so many different denominations that were standing behind me today when I'm speaking, saying we want to be a part of this. Let's set aside our differences. And I did get emotional because at the end of the day, it's about helping, loving, and serving people. I mean, that's what we exist for.
In state news, the Baton Rouge Police Department is facing another federal lawsuit over the arrests of protesters after the shooting death of Alton Sterling. According to the suit, demonstrators claim their arrests were part of a pattern of racist law enforcement within the city. Settlements have been reached in similar lawsuits that would award $45,000 in cash to dozens of people who were arrested. A Baton Rouge man accused of murdering his parents in Tennessee will head to trial. Police say Joel Guy Jr. stabbed his parents, dismembered them, then tried to dissolve their bodies in acid. Investigators think Guy's parents were going to cut him off financially. An ordinance under debate in Kenner could increase fees charged for airport passengers who use Uber and other ride-sharing services. Uber officials say the rule would require riders to pay some of the highest ride-sharing fees in the nation, adding a $4 charge on top of the $4 already charged by the city of New Orleans.
We came really close today, but we came up short. I spoke to the president just a little while ago, and I told him that the best thing I think to do is to pull this bill, and he agreed with that decision.
After saying no to the Affordable Care Act for 7 years, Republicans have been unable to come up with enough yes votes to repeal and replace it. GOP leaders and President Trump pulled the health bill off the House floor when it became apparent it would fail. Acadiana Congressman Clay Higgins weighing in. He supported it, but he says House leadership just didn't have the votes and they saw no reason to let the bill fail on the floor. He tells us he'll be working to repeal the individual mandate and get rid of Obamacare taxes. Time now for a look at more headlines from around the world in 80 seconds. In London, new information about this week's terror attack. The suspect, Khalid Massoud, British-born, a convert to Islam, investigated for extremism more than a decade ago, but he was determined to be low risk. Meanwhile, police raided a home in Birmingham where he lived. A suspect arrested there, 11 arrests in all, 7 released. And new video of Prime Minister Theresa May being whisked away to safety in the moments after the attack. In the Mediterranean Sea, there are fears that hundreds of migrants are dead after 5 bodies were found near 2 2 capsized boats, the grim discovery made off the coast of Libya. Stateside flames on the streets of New York City. It started when one of the cars started leaking gas on the east side of Manhattan. 7 other cars ignited. No one was injured. Another fiery scene, this one above the streets of Fort Worth, Texas. A gas leak in the downtown area forced crews to cut power. In California, new details about Harrison Ford's close call on the runway. He mistakenly landed his plane on a taxiway instead of a runway last month, skimming right over American Airlines 737 that was waiting to take off. In FAA audio, Ford admitted he was distracted by that plane and turbulence from another jet landing nearby, saying in part, "I'm the schmuck that landed on the taxiway." And in Chicago, not quite the dog days of summer, but don't tell the dogs. Unusually high temperatures meant a beach day and even a swim. That's news from around the world in 80 seconds. It's Friday, March 24th, 2017. Coming up, sniffling, sneezing, perhaps a layer of pollen on your car. 'Tis the season, allergy season. We have some advice on how to cope coming up at 10:19. But first, I think we have some rain on the way that might, wash away some of that pollen out there on the cars. Rob's full forecast, including the threat of some potentially severe weather tonight, coming up right after this.